most of this ideology stuff is trying to push the envelope. They are trying to shock. They are seeing how far they can go. Yes, they go out into the field, yes, to do these things to shock, to test humanity, to test society, etc. And they, by and large, have got, with most things, very little pushback, very little disgust. People can't be bothered. I'm more bothered by the lack of response, or just as bothered by the lack of response, which allows them to say, okay, we put this there, we've shown a man doing this, we've shown a man doing that, etc. People aren't really that bothered. Yeah? Some women make a noise about it, but the majority don't. And men, well, they really could give a rest. I see that. Let me just okay that. And there we are, approved. And that's the weakness here, really. The way they've moved and scurried around online and offline with building the structure, main core structures that are their vehicles to get their message across through policies, this, that, and the other, is because of their knowledge. They've got a lot of young people who are very technology able and aware. I don't mean because they can just book some shopping online and, order their home delivery. I mean, these are the people who are studying computer science and all this stuff, etc. And that's key as to how they've been able to move. I don't think women can match that speed of movement with the current skill set or lack of being technology enabled. Our child protection in different societies is slowly but surely being eroded to make children accessible. What's the word for it? Marketing independent units. Yes, so that they can make these choices themselves. That's not the right word, and I should know that having studied certificate in marketing, really. But it's about making children autonomous to make decisions about things that affect themselves, etc. So that's like really, that's what's happening, and it's getting younger and younger. You are removing the onus of and the protection and direction of a parent to allow children to make their own decisions and therefore be available to adults in some way. Sorry, domestic tea, go for it.
Um, yeah, just a little bit of pushback to what you were saying directly there. Is that it's more probable that um, what's being made to happen is for the state to be able to make decisions for the child rather than the child to be able to make decisions themselves, because that would only lead to adults who make decisions themselves, and that would be an awful problem for the state. But back to the first, yes, when I first came in, you were talking about some case or other where a British woman had duped, or yeah, like you said, a few British women had duped other women into sexual activity by pretending to be blokes. Um, yeah, there was a thread about that I went to look for a few days ago, well, a couple of weeks ago, but it took me ages to remember who it was, and it was Dee Dee, and anyway, her account was deleted when I went to look for it, so that was a shame. But, and on all this breastfeeding malarkey, for God's sake, yes, I agree, Jane. The lack of shock, the lack of disgust and outrage and people being punched in the face over this is, well, it's just very telling, isn't it, of the times that we're already in, not that we're moving towards, not that, oh, if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. No, our kids are mired in it. I've heard people on here talking about their own children of various ages, some grown up, being mired in this malarkey. So there's that. Yeah, the lack of outrage is no surprise, considering it seems a lot of these people have grown up with this kind of thing. before I go on with that, I'll just go back to something I forgot, which is, this tolerance behaviour. People are kind of tolerant. I wouldn't have usually said this, but it just popped into my mind. But that, as a working class person, it has always seemed that among the upper middle classes and the highfalutin, there is a culture that child abuse is somewhat of an open secret. That for some reason the Madeleine McCann, there was a lot of conspiracy malarkey around that. So I don't want to talk about it because it was just people need to stop talking about it. But that it might have opened some people's eyes to the fact that among certain classes, this kind of thing in their mind kind of should be acceptable. They should be able to do what they want to children. And like that Thatcher and people like that, they're warped, aren't they? They've always been there, and they a certain class, and they think, why can't the rest of us just get on with it and go along with their malarkey? So, is it any surprise they're just trying to drag the working class, normal people into their shit, and this is the way they're going about it? The long game, of course. We know that.
I'm not entirely.
Hold on. Sorry, Jane. Sorry, I just want to go back to the breastfeeding quickly, and then I'll shut up. Like all of the type of drugs in the milk, the process they use to get the lactation going, and does the baby get nourishment? Blah blah blah. Mate, who gives a shit? If we just got straight to the point, that's paedophilic behaviour. Anybody getting a child to suck on them for any other reason than I'm your mum and I don't have to feed you, even if I don't like it because I'm your mum, then there's only one reason. It is perverted. They are using the child as a fucking prop in a sexual activity. All right, and that is the only thing that anybody should need to say. It doesn't matter even if the child got the best nourishment ever from it. It's still, the reasoning is wrong. It's bloody hell, mate. Do you know what I mean? Even like to be debating this kind of thing. These words, no debate. It just, we should be using them. Yeah, I use them all the time. There is no debate on that kind of malarkey. Fucking perverts. End of. Sorry.
No, thank you, Domestic Tea. I was just wondering, sorry, morally, there is no okay about this. At a moral level, there is no okay, even if it was just scientific and nourishment and all the rest of it, etc. The fact that it is a prop, etc., for males, and there's no other reason.
To be honest, even if it was a female, if she's not the child's mum and naturally lactating, then she's not actually lactating. Just leave the kid's mouth off your fucking body parts, please.
Okay, well, understood. I just wanted to address the bit that I don't think it's entirely a middle class or an upper middle class things in terms of some sort of
No, I don't think all of the perverts are upper middle class, but I do think that the kind of culture and the integration and what have you, it was. Do you know what I mean? And that is what filters down to, these things filter down, don't they? The debauchery from the castle to the slums.
I guess the whole debauchery and depravity. There is a view through the ages of it being the privileged. We just see people with whether it's ridiculous amounts of privilege, like loads of nice food and loads of this, loads of that. Let them eat cake kind of shit. Excesses. And this is also an excess, and it's seen as those who have rather than have not. But it filters. it filters kind of down. Anyway, thanks for a couple more people joining. I was just doing an early morning space. Sorry, just Mel, please go.
Hey, to maybe put a cap on the male nipple issue, I put up in the nest all the way to the right dot. And aim this. I'm trying to remain clinical about this because I find it so grotesque. But second sentence, first sentence, studies defending male lactation are redefining breastfeeding to exclude feeding.
I see that. When I stand back and look at this, how this is propelled, how this is captured, to the extent and being driven, predominantly driven by men. And then I sort of watch loads, including myself, loads of people shocked at the next thing they do. Shocked again, shocked. I'm really getting sort of like shocked to death to the point I'm not going to be shocked anymore. Yeah? When you see a man trying to get like intimate with a child on the street, I'm not going to get shocked. Yeah? Let's not forget, stuff the ideology, and because it's an industry, it's a commercial industry. But this is predominantly men. Yeah, so I'm not going to label the ideology, just put that to one side. The ideology is a vehicle for men behaving worse than they already behave. Yeah, and I think about why men are not kicking up as much of a stink about it, really, because partly they don't give a rat's backside, because it doesn't directly affect them, as we spoke earlier, but also, secondly, they have something to gain. Yes, and we don't really want to accept that many men think the same way. They just are curtailed by social norms, by the laws in place. They do not want to risk stuff, but hell, they're watching. They're watching and seeing how other men, that wearing a frock is neither here nor there. I couldn't really care less, really. They are sitting watching other men behave like this, and will be emboldened.